As Dr. Maria Rodriguez ventured deeper into the lost city of Zerzura, the air thickened with an eerie silence. Her team followed closely, their footsteps echoing off the stone walls. Maria's instincts screamed caution, but her curiosity propelled her forward. She approached a grand stone door adorned with cryptic symbols, her heart racing with anticipation. The symbols seemed to dance across the stone, telling a story that only a select few could understand. Maria's eyes narrowed as she studied the intricate carvings, her mind racing with possibilities. The team gathered around as Maria deciphered the ancient language. With a soft click, the doors creaked open, revealing a dimly lit chamber filled with rows of ancient artifacts. Maria's eyes widened as she stepped inside, her fingers brushing against the dusty relics. She marveled at the intricate carvings and mysterious symbols etched into the artifacts, each one telling a story of a long-lost civilization. The team began to fan out, examining the various relics with a mix of awe and trepidation. As Maria reached out to touch a particularly ornate vase, the team heard a faint rumbling noise, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. Maria's warning cry was lost in the sound of shifting stone as the door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The team's panic set in, but Maria's eyes locked onto a symbol etched into the wall. It was a warning, one she couldn't quite decipher. The symbol seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, and Maria felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew they had to get out, but the door was sealed, and the walls seemed to be closing in. "Get back!" she shouted, but was too late. The chamber began to shake violently, and the artifacts toppled, sending shards of pottery and ancient treasures crashing to the ground. Maria stumbled, her vision blurring as the room plunged into darkness. As she fell, she saw a figure standing amidst the chaos, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. The figure took a step closer, and Maria felt a chill run down her spine. The darkness closed in around her, and everything went black. When Maria came to, she was alone, the silence deafening. She struggled to her feet, her eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of her team. The air was thick with dust, and the smell of old earth filled her nostrils. She stumbled forward, her hands outstretched in front of her, trying to find any obstacle that might be in her path. As she moved, her eyes began to adjust to the darkness, and she saw faint outlines of the chamber. The room was in ruins. Artifacts lay shattered and broken, and the symbol on the wall seemed to pulse with an evil energy. Maria's heart sank as she realized she was truly alone. She called out for her team, but her voice was swallowed by the darkness. She knew she had to keep moving, find a way out of the chamber, and hope that her team had managed to escape. With newfound determination, Maria began to move forward, her eyes fixed on the outline of the door. As she stumbled through the darkness, she noticed that the symbol on the wall seemed to be growing brighter, casting an eerie glow over the chamber. The light from the symbol illuminated the figure standing in the shadows. Maria's heart skipped a beat as she realized she was not alone. The figure began to move towards her, its eyes fixed on Maria. She tried to run, but her legs felt heavy, as if rooted to spot. The figure loomed closer, its presence filling the chamber. Maria's vision began to blur, and she felt herself being pulled towards the figure. As she was drawn closer, Maria saw that the figure was humanoid in shape, but its body seemed to be made of a dark, misty material. The eyes glowed with an otherworldly energy, and Maria felt herself being pulled into their depths. She tried to scream, but her voice was trapped in her throat. The figure reached out a hand, and Maria felt a strange energy wash over her. Suddenly, visions flooded her mind, images of an ancient civilization, of powerful artifacts, and of a great calamity that had been hidden for centuries. Maria stumbled back, her mind reeling from the visions. When she opened her eyes, the figure was gone, and the symbol on the wall had stopped pulsing. The chamber was silent once more, except for the sound of Maria's ragged breathing. She knew she had to get out, but the visions lingered in her mind, and she knew that she would never look at the world in the same way again. With a newfound sense of purpose, Maria began to move toward the door, determined to uncover the secrets of Zerzura and find her team. As she reached the door, Maria noticed that it was slightly ajar. She pushed it open, and a warm light spilled into the chamber. Maria blinked, her eyes adjusting to the light. She saw a vast expanse of sand stretching out before her, and the city of Zerzura lay in ruins. Maria stumbled out into the bright sunlight, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of her team. The silence was oppressive, and Maria knew she had to find help. She began to walk, her footsteps sinking into the sand, leaving behind the lost city of Zerzura and the secrets it held. The sun beat down on Maria's back as she trudged through the sand, her canteen almost empty. She knew she had to find water, and soon. As she crested a dune, she saw a figure in the distance, walking towards her. Maria's heart leapt with hope, and she stumbled towards the figure, her legs weak with relief. As the figure drew closer, Maria saw that it was a woman, dressed in a flowing white robe, her face veiled. The woman reached out a hand, and Maria took it, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thank you," Maria said, her voice hoarse from thirst. The woman smiled, her eyes warm, and led Maria to a small oasis, hidden away in the dunes. Maria drank greedily from the waterskin the woman offered, feeling life flow back into her parched body. As she drank, Maria noticed that the woman's eyes seemed to hold a deep sadness. "What's wrong?" Maria asked, her voice softening. The woman's eyes filled with tears, and she spoke in a voice that was barely audible. "My people," she said, "they were the guardians of Zerzura. We kept its secrets for centuries, but we failed. The city was lost, and my people were scattered to the winds." Maria's eyes widened as she realized the significance of the woman's words. "You're from the Zerzurian tribe," Maria said, her voice filled with awe. The woman nodded, her eyes filled with tears. "I am the last of my line," she said, "and I have failed to protect our secrets." Maria took the woman's hand, feeling a sense of solidarity. "You're not alone," Maria said. "We'll find a way to uncover the secrets of Zerzura together." As Maria and the woman walked away from the ruins of Zerzura, the sun setting over the dunes, Maria knew that this was just the beginning of a new adventure. The secrets of Zerzura would be revealed, and Maria would be there to uncover them, with her new ally by her side. Together, they would face the challenges that lay ahead and uncover the truth about the lost city of Zerzura. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, but Maria was ready. She had faced the unknown and had come out on top. The lost city of Zerzura had revealed some of its secrets, but Maria knew that there was still much to be discovered, and she was ready for whatever lay ahead, armed with her knowledge, her courage, and her determination to uncover the truth. Maria's fingers trembled as she touched the ancient inscription, the words "the architect," etched in her mind like a branding iron. Her team, comprising seasoned archaeologists and historians, exchanged dubious glances, their skepticism palpable. Dr. Patel, the team leader, cleared his throat. "Maria, we need concrete evidence, not mythological tales." Maria nodded, her mind already racing ahead. She spent the next few days poring over the inscription, deciphering symbols and consulting dusty tomes. As she dug deeper, the visions intensified, fleeting glimpses of a figure wielding an ethereal blueprint, constructing worlds of precision and ease. The images haunted her, tantalizing her with promises of secrets yet to be uncovered. The symbols seemed to dance on the pages, weaving a narrative that only Maria could hear. She became lost in the stories of ancient civilizations, their triumphs and downfalls, and the whispers of a power that transcended time and space. The architect's presence grew stronger with each passing day, echoing in her mind like a mantra. The air was thick with otherworldly energy, and Maria felt herself becoming attuned to its frequency. As the days passed, Maria's colleagues began to notice a change in her. Her eyes took on a far-off look, and her movements became more deliberate. Dr. Patel called her aside one evening, concern etched on his face. "Maria, you're getting obsessed with this. Maybe it's time to take a step back, focus on the excavation site's logistics." His voice was gentle, but laced with a warning. Maria nodded, but she knew she couldn't stop now. The architect's presence pulsed through her veins like lifeblood. She spent every spare moment researching, seeking connections between the entity and ancient civilizations. The visions grew stronger, more vivid, and Maria felt herself being pulled toward a precipice. She was no longer just an archaeologist uncovering secrets. She was a vessel for a much larger story. The weight of her discovery bore down on her, and Maria felt the burden of her responsibility. She was unraveling secrets that had been hidden for millennia, and the consequences of her actions weighed heavily on her mind. Despite her doubts, she pressed on, driven by a burning curiosity and an insatiable hunger for knowledge. One night, Maria found herself standing in a vast, dark expanse, the figure looming before her. The architect spoke in a voice that resonated through her very being. "I can bridge the gap between worlds, but at what cost?" The vision dissolved, leaving Maria gasping for breath. She scribbled notes in her journal, trying to capture the essence of the encounter. The words spilled onto the pages, a torrent of thoughts and emotions that she couldn't contain. The next morning, Maria stumbled into the team's makeshift lab, her eyes wild with a mix of fear and excitement. "It's real," she whispered. "The architect is real." Dr. Patel's expression softened. "Maria, maybe you should take a break." His words were a gentle reminder that she was pushing herself to the limit. But Maria was resolute. She spent the day researching, seeking connections between the architect and ancient civilizations. As night fell, the visions returned more vivid than before. This time, the architect revealed a glimpse of a world unlike any Maria had ever seen, a realm where architecture defied gravity and buildings sang with otherworldly music. The beauty was breathtaking, but a sense of unease lingered, like the whisper of a warning. The vision showed her cities that floated among the stars, their spires and towers piercing the fabric of reality. Maria saw creatures that defied explanation, their forms blurring and shifting as they moved. She felt the weight of the architect's power, a power that could shape worlds and bend reality to its will. Maria's eyes snapped open, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she was on the cusp of something groundbreaking. As she reached for her journal, a chill ran down her spine. On her notes, a single phrase was scrawled in red ink, unfamiliar to her. "Meet me at the nexus of worlds." The word seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, drawing her closer to the unknown. The room seemed to darken, as if the shadows themselves were moving, closing in. Maria's voice barely whispered, "What nexus?" Suddenly, her satellite phone buzzed, shrill in the night. The screen displayed a single message: "I've been waiting." The word sent a shiver down her spine. Who was waiting? And where? As Maria pondered the question, the lab around her began to fade, like a watercolor painting in the rain. The equipment hummed and the lights flickered. Dr. Patel's voice called out, distant and concerned, "Maria, what's happening?" But Maria didn't respond. She was already slipping into the unknown, drawn by the siren's call of the architect. The darkness closed in, and Maria felt herself being pulled through a vortex of colors and lights. When she opened her eyes, she found herself standing at the edge of a vast, starry expanse. The stars seemed to twinkle in synchronization, spelling out a message in the cosmos. "Welcome, Maria. The architect awaits." Maria's heart pounded as she took a step forward into the unknown. The stars seemed to rush toward her, and the world went dark. The last thing she heard was the sound of her own voice, whispering a single word: "Welcome." The silence that followed was oppressive, punctuated only by the sound of Maria's heart beating in her chest. And then nothingness enveloped her, a vast and endless expanse of darkness. The silence was almost palpable, a physical presence that pressed down on her, making it hard to breathe. In the darkness, Maria's mind began to unravel, threads of reality snapping like fragile strings. She felt herself being pulled apart, her consciousness stretched to the breaking point. And yet, even in the depths of her confusion, she knew that she was not alone. The architect's presence loomed, a constant reminder that she was being drawn toward a destination unknown. The darkness began to take shape, coalescing into a presence that towered over Maria. She felt the weight of its gaze upon her, a gaze that pierced the very soul of her being. The architect's voice whispered in her mind, "The time of reckoning approaches, Maria. Are you prepared to face the truth?" Maria's heart pounded in her chest as she steeled herself for what was to come. She knew that she was on the threshold of a great revelation, one that would change her life forever. With a sense of trepidation, she nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm ready." The response was immediate. The darkness erupted into a kaleidoscope of colors, a maelstrom of light and sound that threatened to consume her. Maria felt herself being pulled through the vortex, her senses overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the experience. And then, suddenly, everything went still. The colors ceased their mad dance, and the sounds faded into silence. Maria found herself standing in a vast, empty space, the only sound the soft whisper of her own breathing. The architect's voice spoke once more, its tone low and mysterious. The nexus of worlds is a place of great power, Maria. Are you prepared to face what lies within? Maria steeled herself, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that she was on the cusp of a great discovery, one that would change her life forever. With a sense of determination, she nodded. I'm ready. The architect's response was a single word. Then let us begin. As AMR led them through the winding tunnels, the air grew thick with an eerie energy that seemed to seep from the very walls themselves. Maria's determination to uncover Zerzura's secrets only intensified with each step, her footsteps echoing off the cold stone. The team navigated through narrow passageways, their torches casting flickering shadows on the walls, like skeletal fingers grasping for them. Every step seemed to draw them deeper into the heart of the ancient city, the weight of history bearing down upon them. The scent of age, dust, and forgotten history wafted through the air, teasing their senses and heightening their anticipation. Every step revealed a new marvel, each one more breathtaking than the last. Ancient carvings adorned with hieroglyphs that told stories of Zerzura's glory days. Yet, despite the beauty, an undercurrent of unease ran through the group. AMR's warnings had been clear. This place was not to be trifled with. The team's collective breaths seemed to catch at the thought, but Maria's resolve never wavered. We're close, AMR whispered, his voice barely audible over the sound of shifting sand that whispered secrets in the darkness. The chamber of the ancients lies ahead. His words were laced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation, as if he was unsure what lay ahead. The team's excitement was palpable as they approached the entrance, their footsteps slowing as if drawn by an unseen force. AMR's warnings, however, were not forgotten. He had spoken of ancient curses and hidden traps, designed to protect the city's secrets from those who would misuse them. The team's faces were etched with worry, their eyes darting nervously towards the shadows. As they stepped into the chamber, a low hum filled the air, like the gentle buzzing of 1,000 bees. The room was filled with ancient artifacts, each one more astounding than the last. Golden statues with eyes that seemed to watch, scrolls penned by hands long still, and a glowing crystal that pulsed with an otherworldly power sat atop a pedestal. Maria's eyes widened as she reached out to touch it, her fingers stretching out as if drawn by an unseen force. Don't! AMR shouted, his voice laced with desperation that came too late. His warning was lost in the sound of the crystal's power surging to life. The crystal began to glow brighter, and the room started to shake. The team stumbled, their torches casting wild shadows as the ground beneath them trembled. Maria's hand was engulfed in a blinding light, and for a moment it seemed as though time itself had stopped. The world around her dissolved into nothingness, leaving only the sensation of weightlessness. As the light faded, Maria found herself standing alone in a vast desert landscape. The sun beat down upon her, relentless in its ferocity, casting long shadows that stretched out like skeletal fingers. A figure approached her in the distance, a woman with long, flowing hair that seemed to dance in the wind, and eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the ages. The woman's features were etched against the backdrop of the desert, her presence both captivating and unnerving. "Welcome, Maria," the woman said. Her voice carried on the wind that whispered secrets in her ear. "I've been waiting for you." The woman's voice was like honey, sweet and alluring, but Maria could sense the danger that lay beneath. Maria's heart pounded as she tried to speak, but her voice was lost in the sandstorm that suddenly surrounded her. The woman's words echoed in her mind. "The secrets of Zerzura come with a price you may not be willing to pay." The storm raged around her, its fury unrelenting, as if trying to drown out the truth that only Zerzura knew. And then everything went black. When Maria opened her eyes, she was back in the chamber, the team around her, their faces etched with worry. AMR stood over her, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and awe. "What did you see?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Maria's gaze locked onto his, a spark of determination igniting within her. "I saw the price of secrets," she whispered, her voice firm, "and I'm willing to pay it." Her words hung in the air, like a challenge to the universe itself. The team's faces paled, and AMR's expression turned grim. "You don't understand, Maria. You haven't seen the price yet." As he spoke, the ground beneath him began to shake once more, and the sound of shifting sand grew louder, echoing through the chamber like the countdown to a final reckoning. The team's torches flickered wildly, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The darkness seemed to be closing in, and Maria felt herself being pulled toward some unknown fate. The woman's words echoed in her mind. "The secrets of Zerzura come with a price you may not be willing to pay." Suddenly, the chamber was bathed in an eerie darkness, and Maria felt herself being pulled into shadows, the team's screams fading into the distance as she was dragged deeper into the heart of Zerzura. The last thing she saw was Amar's desperate face, his eyes wide with a mixture of fear and warning, before everything went black once more. As she fell, Maria felt the weight of the ancient city's secrets bearing down upon her. The whispers of the wind grew louder, a cacophony of ancient knowledge and forgotten lore that threatened to consume her. She felt her mind expanding, as if it was being stretched to its limits and beyond. The secrets of Zerzura were vast, and they were complex, and she was not sure she was ready to pay the price. The darkness closed in around her, a suffocating shroud that seemed to have a life of its own. Maria's thoughts grew disjointed, her memories fragmenting like shards of glass. She felt herself being pulled apart, her very essence being torn asunder by the secrets that lurked within the heart of Zerzura. And then there was silence. The silence was oppressive, a heavy weight that pressed down upon her like a physical force. Maria felt herself floating, suspended in a sea of nothingness. She had no sense of time, no sense of self. She was lost, adrift in an endless expanse of darkness. But she was not alone. A presence lurked in the darkness, a presence that watched her with cold, calculating eyes. Maria felt its gaze like a knife, cutting through the darkness and piercing her very soul. She tried to scream, but her voice was lost in the void. The presence began to move closer, its presence growing more defined with each passing moment. Maria felt her heart pounding in her chest, her breath coming in short, ragged gasps. She knew that she was staring into the face of something ancient, something that had lain dormant for millennia, waiting for her. The presence loomed closer, its eyes burning with an otherworldly intensity. Maria felt herself being drawn towards it, felt herself being pulled into its depths. She knew that she was about to uncover the secrets of Zerzura, secrets that had been hidden for centuries. But was she ready for what lay ahead? As Maria's doubts swirled, the team's whispers and gasps filled the chamber. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the symbols etched into the walls seemed to pulse with malevolent life of their own. Dr. Patel, ever the scientist, began to analyze the artifacts, while Sophia, the team's photographer, snapped photos with a mix of fascination and fear. The soft glow of their headlamps cast eerie shadows on the walls, making it seem as though the ancient symbols were shifting, try to convey a message that had been lost for centuries. Maria's gaze wandered to the symbol-covered walls, her mind racing with questions. What was the purpose of this chamber? What secrets lay hidden beneath the desert sands? She felt a shiver run down her spine as she approached a particularly intricate symbol. It seemed to be a mix of ancient languages, but she couldn't quite decipher its meaning. Suddenly, the symbol seemed to shift, rearranging itself to spell out a single word. Why? Maria's heart skipped a beat. She felt a presence behind her and spun around, but there was no one there. The team's chatter ceased, and an oppressive silence fell over the chamber. In the stillness, Maria's own voice echoed back at her. Why am I here? The question hung in the air, taunting her. She had always been driven by a sense of adventure, a thirst for knowledge, but now she wondered if that was enough. The lights flickered, and the team's faces distorted, like reflections in rippling water. Maria stumbled backward, her vision blurring. When her eyes cleared, she found herself standing alone in a desolate landscape. The sky was a deep, foreboding gray, and the air was thick with the scent of sand and smoke. She looked around, disoriented, and saw the team's lights receding into the distance. "Wait!" she called out, but her voice was swallowed by the desert. Panic set in as she realized she was alone. The storm clouds gathered, and a figure emerged in the shadows, its eyes fixed on Maria. "You're not who you think you are," it whispered, as the world around her began to shatter. The ground beneath her feet gave way, and Maria felt herself falling. She saw the team's faces, their mouths open in screams she couldn't hear. The chamber, the artifacts, everything disappeared into a vortex of darkness. Maria's mind reeled as she plummeted into the unknown. When she landed, she found herself back in the chamber, the team's faces etched with concern. "Maria, are you okay?" Dr. Patel asked, his voice firm but laced with worry. You seem to be in a trance." Maria's head spun as she struggled to distinguish reality from illusion. Was it just a hallucination? She glanced at the symbol on the wall, and for a moment, she could have sworn it seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, as if urging her to uncover the truth. As the team began to move forward, Maria hesitated. What secrets lay hidden in this chamber? And what did that figure mean? "You're not who you think you are." The words echoed in her mind, fueling a growing sense of unease. She knew she had to press on, but the stakes had never felt higher. The team's footsteps echoed off the walls as they ventured deeper into the chamber. Maria followed, her senses on high alert, as the symbol seemed to close in around her. She felt like she was being pulled towards something that would change her life forever. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to twist and writhe on the walls. Maria's heart pounded in her chest as she realized they were not alone in the chamber. Something was watching them, waiting for them to uncover the secrets that lay hidden for so long. As they turned a corner, Maria saw it, a massive stone door, adorned with symbols that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The door was covered in dust and debris, and it looked like it hadn't been opened in centuries. Maria felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized that they were not alone in the chamber. Suddenly, the door creaked open, revealing a dark and ominous passageway. The team's lights faltered, and the shadows seemed to grow longer and more menacing. Maria felt a sense of trepidation as she realized that they were being drawn into the heart of the chamber, into the very depths of the unknown. "Do we go in?" Sophia whispered, her voice barely audible. Maria hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that once they crossed this threshold, there would be no turning back. But she also knew that she couldn't turn her back on the secrets that lay hidden in the chamber. She took a deep breath and nodded. As they stepped into the passageway, the door creaked shut behind them, plunging them into darkness. The air was thick with the scent of decay and corruption, and Maria knew that they were in for a journey that would change them forever. The passageway seemed to stretch on forever, the team's lights casting eerie shadows on the walls. Maria's senses were on high alert as she navigated the twisting tunnel, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that they were getting close to something that would reveal the secrets of the chamber. And then she saw it, a glimmer of light in the distance. The team's footsteps quickened, their excitement palpable. Maria's heart was racing as they approached the source of the light. What would they find? Would it be answers or more questions? As they emerged into a vast underground cavern, Maria's breath caught in her throat. The cavern was filled with ancient artifacts, each one more breathtaking than the last. But it was what lay at the center of the cavern that made Maria's blood run cold. A figure, shrouded in shadows, stood atop a pedestal, its eyes fixed on Maria. "Welcome," it said, its voice like thunder in the cavern. "I've been waiting for you." Maria's world seemed to spin as the figure began to move toward her. She knew that she was about to uncover a secret that would change her life forever. But was she ready for the truth? The figure loomed over her, its eyes burning with an otherworldly intensity. Maria felt her heart pounding in her chest as it reached out a hand and touched her forehead. Everything went black. When Maria came to, she was lying on the ground, the team's faces etched with concern. "Maria, what happened?" Dr. Patel asked, his voice firm but laced with worry. Maria's head spun as she struggled to sit up. What did we find?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Patel's expression was grim. "We found something, but I'm not sure what it means. We need to get out of here now." As they stumbled toward the exit, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced back, but there was nothing there. Or was there? The journey back through the passageway was a blur, Maria's mind reeling with questions. What had they uncovered? What secrets lay hidden in the chamber? And what did the figure mean when it said, "I've been waiting for you"? As they emerged into the bright sunlight, Maria felt a sense of relief wash over her. But it was short-lived. As they looked back at the entrance to the chamber, now hidden behind a veil of sand, Maria saw something that made her blood run cold. A symbol etched into the rock face. The same symbol that had been on the wall in the chamber. It seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, as if urging her to return. Maria knew that this was far from over. The secrets of the chamber still lingered, waiting to be uncovered, and she knew that she would be back. Maria's fingers trembled as she delicately turned the yellowed pages of the journal. The handwriting was elegant, yet laced with a sense of foreboding. The architect's words spoke of forbidden knowledge, secrets of the universe that were better left unspoken. But Maria was enthralled. She felt an unsettling connection to the writer, as if they shared a secret that no one else could understand. As she read on, the team's voices faded into the background. Dr. Patel's warnings, Sophia's concerned glances, all of it became irrelevant. Maria was consumed by the journal's secrets. The words danced across the page, revealing a world of ancient mysteries and forbidden knowledge. "The universe is not what it seems," the architect wrote. "The veil of reality is thin, and those who dare to lift it shall be forever changed." Maria felt the veil lifting, her perception shifting. She saw the world in a new light, the familiar becoming strange and mysterious. The journal spoke of hidden patterns, unseen forces that shaped the course of human history. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in a golden glow, Maria finally reached the journal's final entry. The words were cryptic, yet seemed to hold the key to unlocking the universe's deepest secrets. "The nexus lies hidden in plain sight," the architect wrote. "Follow the path of the setting sun, and you shall find the doorway to the infinite." Maria's eyes locked onto the words, her mind racing with possibilities. She felt an overwhelming urge to follow the path, to uncover the secrets that the architect had hinted at. The team's voices grew louder, urging her to return to camp, but Maria remained frozen, her gaze fixed on the journal. The desert landscape stretched out before her, the stars beginning to twinkle in the night sky. Maria felt a sense of awe wash over her, as if she was on the cusp of discovering something profound. She stood up, her eyes never leaving the horizon, and took a step forward. The team's voices grew more insistent, but Maria didn't respond. She was transfixed by the setting sun, her mind fixed on the path that lay ahead. Dr. Patel approached her, concern etched on his face, but Maria waved him off. "Just a few more minutes," she whispered, her eyes still fixed on the horizon. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the desert in a warm orange glow, Maria felt a sense of anticipation build within her. She knew that she was on the threshold of something momentous, something that would change her life forever. The stars began to shine brighter, casting a celestial glow over the desert. Maria felt a sense of connection to the universe, as if she was a part of something much larger than herself. She took another step forward, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, the wind picked up, and the pages began to rustle. Maria's heart skipped a beat as she felt a presence behind her. She turned to see a figure standing at the edge of the camp, its features shrouded in shadows. "Maria, we need to leave," Dr. Patel called out, his voice laced with concern. But Maria didn't respond. She was transfixed by the figure, her mind racing with questions. As the figure took a step forward, Maria felt a jolt of electricity run through her body. The figure raised its hand, and Maria felt herself being drawn toward it. She took a step forward, and then another, her heart pounding in her chest. The team's voices grew distant, a cacophony of concern and fear. But Maria didn't hear them. She was focused on the figure, her mind consumed by the secrets that lay ahead. As she drew closer, the figure's features began to take shape. Maria's heart skipped a beat as she saw a face that was familiar yet strange. The face was her own, yet not her own. It was as if she was staring into the eyes of her own reflection, but a reflection that held secrets and knowledge that she couldn't comprehend. The figure spoke, its voice echoing in Maria's mind. "Welcome, Maria. I've been waiting for you." Maria's world seemed to spin as the figure reached out and touched her forehead. Everything went black. When Maria came to, she was lying on the sand, the team's faces etched with concern. "Maria, what happened?" Dr. Patel asked, his voice firm but laced with worry. Maria's head spun as she struggled to sit up. What did I see?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Patel's expression was grim. "You were walking towards something, but there was nothing there. We need to get out of here now." As they packed up the camp, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She glanced back, but there was nothing there, or was there. The journey back to civilization was a blur, Maria's mind consumed by the secrets that lay hidden in the journal. She knew that she had uncovered something profound, something that would change her life forever. But she also knew that she was not alone. The figure's words echoed in her mind. "I've been waiting for you." Maria's heart pounded in her chest as she realized that she was being drawn into a world of ancient mysteries and forbidden knowledge. And she knew that she would never be the same again. As they drove away from the desert, Maria caught a glimpse of something in the distance. A symbol etched into the rock face. The same symbol that was in the journal. It seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, as if urging her to return. Maria's world seemed to spin as she realized that this was far from over. The secrets of the journal still lingered, waiting to be uncovered, and she knew that she would be back. The symbol seemed to grow larger, burning itself into Maria's mind. She felt a sense of trepidation, as if she was being pulled towards something that she couldn't control. The desert landscape receded into the distance, but Maria knew that she would return, drawn by the secrets that lay hidden in the sands. As the team's vehicle disappeared over the horizon, the desert silence was broken by a low hum. The symbol on the rock face began to glow, casting an otherworldly light over the desert. And in the shadows, a figure watched, its eyes fixed on the symbol. "The time has come," the figure whispered, its voice carried away by the wind. "The Nexus shall be revealed, and the universe shall be forever changed." The figure vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only the symbol, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. The desert silence was restored, but the anticipation hung in the air, a sense of foreboding that something was about to unfold. The sun beat down on the desert sand as Maria's world crumbled around her. She stared at Sophia, her mind reeling with shock and betrayal. "You're working for them?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. Sophia's expression was a mixture of guilt and determination. "I'm sorry, Maria. I never meant for it to go this far. But I have my orders, and I have to follow them." The team's shock and anger were palpable, their faces etched with a mix of emotions. Dr. Patel's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched in disgust. "You're a traitor, Sophia. We trusted you." Maria's thoughts swirled with questions. How could she have been so blind? How could Sophia's betrayal cut so deep? The team's dynamics were forever changed, the air thick with tension and distrust. As the reality of the situation sunk in, Maria felt a wave of emotions wash over her. She had considered Sophia a friend, a confidant. The feeling of betrayal was like a knife to the heart. "What do they want?" Maria demanded, her voice cold and detached. Sophia hesitated before answering. "They want the artifacts, the secrets of Zerzura. They believe it's the key to unlocking new technologies, new powers, and they'll stop at nothing to get it." The team's safety was now compromised, and Maria knew they had to act fast. "We need to get out of here now," she urged, her eyes scanning the surrounding area for any signs of danger. As they packed up their gear, Maria's mind racing with thoughts of escape and survival, she couldn't shake off the feeling that they were being watched. And then she saw it, a plume of dust rising in the distance, growing larger with every passing second. "Sophia, you need to tell us more about your employers," Maria said, her voice firm. "What do they know about us?" Sophia's eyes darted nervously around the group. "I don't know everything, but I know they're well-funded, well-equipped. They have resources and connections we can't even imagine." The dust plume grew closer, and Maria's heart sank. "It's them!" she whispered, her eyes locked on the horizon. The team turned to see a convoy of vehicles, their tires screeching as they sped toward them. Maria knew they had to act fast. "Let's move!" she shouted, grabbing her backpack and sprinting toward their vehicle. As they sped away from the oncoming convoy, Maria's mind was a jumble of thoughts. Who was behind this? What did they want with the artifacts? And what would happen to her team? The vehicles gave chase, their engines roaring as they gained on Maria's team. "Hold on!" Maria shouted, her eyes fixed on the rear-view mirror. The team's vehicle swerved and lurched, dodging rocks and sand dunes as Maria expertly navigated the treacherous terrain. But their pursuers were relentless, closing in on them with every passing second. Suddenly, a vehicle pulled alongside, and Maria saw the glint of metal. "Get down!" she screamed, but it was too late. A shot rang out, shattering the windshield. Maria's heart stopped as she saw Dr. Patel slump forward, a crimson stain spreading across his forehead. "No!" Maria screamed, her world crashing down around her. As the team's vehicle careened out of control, Maria's vision blurred. She felt herself being pulled into a vortex of chaos and destruction. And in that moment, she knew she would stop at nothing to uncover the truth behind Sophia's betrayal and the sinister forces that pursued them. The vehicle crashed, throwing Maria forward. She struggled to free herself, her head spinning. As she looked up, she saw Sophia's face, her eyes filled with tears and fear. "I'm sorry, Maria," Sophia whispered before everything went black. But as Maria's world faded to black, she heard a voice that sent shivers down her spine. "You're not going anywhere, Maria," the voice said. "You're going to help us unlock the secrets of Zerzura." Maria's eyes fluttered open, and she saw a figure standing over her. The figure's face was shrouded in shadows, making it impossible to discern any features. "Who are you?" Maria demanded, her voice weak but determined. The figure didn't respond. Instead, it reached out and injected Maria with sedative. She felt her world spinning, her consciousness slipping away. As she drifted off into unconsciousness, Maria's mind was filled with questions. What did they want with her? What secrets did they think she possessed? And what would happen to her team? The last thing Maria saw was the figure's masked face, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly intensity. When Maria came to, she was in a stark, white room. The air was cold and sterile, and the only sound was a hum of machinery. Maria's head pounded as she struggled to sit up. She was met with resistance, her wrists and ankles bound to the bed. "Welcome back, Maria," a voice said, its tone cold and detached. "We've been waiting for you." Maria's eyes scanned the room, searching for any sign of her captors. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice firm. The figure stepped forward, its features still shrouded in shadows. "You don't need to know that," it said. "What you need to know is that you're going to help us unlock the secrets of Zerzura." Maria's mind was racing. She knew she had to stall for time, to find a way to escape. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. The figure chuckled, a low, menacing sound. "Don't play games with us, Maria. We know you have the knowledge we need, and we'll do whatever it takes to get it from you." Maria's heart sank as she realized the true extent of her predicament. She was in the hands of people who would stop at nothing to get what they wanted, and she knew she had to find a way to escape before it was too late. As Maria sat in her cold, sterile prison, she knew she had to think fast. She had to come up with a plan, a way to escape and uncover the truth behind Sophia's betrayal. But for now, she was trapped at the mercy of her captors. The hours ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. Maria's mind was racing with thoughts of escape, of survival. She knew she had to stay strong, to hold on to her sanity. But as the minutes turned into hours, Maria's resolve began to weaken. She was tired, hungry, and thirsty, and she knew she couldn't keep this up for much longer. Just when she thought she couldn't take it anymore, Maria heard the sound of footsteps outside her room. The door slid open, and a figure entered. "It's time to begin," the figure said, its voice cold and detached. "You're going to tell us everything you know about Zerzura, and you're going to do it now." Maria's heart sank as she realized her ordeal was far from over. She was about to face the darkest moments of her life, and she knew she had to find a way to survive. The figure approached Maria, a device in its hand. "This is a neural extractor," it said. "It will extract the information we need from your mind." Maria's eyes widened in horror as the figure raised the device. She knew she had to think fast, to come up with a plan to escape. But as the device touched her skin, Maria felt a wave of fear wash over her. She was running out of time. Asterisk, asterisk. The air was thick with anticipation as the team stood before the hidden ritual chamber. The symbols etched into the walls seemed to pulse with otherworldly energy, drawing them in like moths to a flame. Maria's heart pounded in her chest as she gazed upon the ancient artifacts, her mind racing with the possibilities. "This is it," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her own heartbeat. "This is where the architect conjured the beyond." Dr. Patel nodded, his eyes shining with excitement. "Let's proceed with caution," he cautioned, but his voice was laced with a sense of anticipation. The team began to recreate the ritual, their voices chanting in unison as they called forth the ancient powers. The air seemed to vibrate with energy, the symbols on the walls glowing with an eerie light. As they reached the climax of the ritual, the chamber began to shake and tremble. The team stumbled, their voices faltering as the ground beneath their feet seemed to drop away. "What's happening?" Maria cried out, her voice lost in the cacophony of sound. The ritual chamber was dissolving, the boundaries between worlds blurring. The team was caught in a vortex of chaos, unable to escape the forces they had unleashed. Maria felt herself being pulled toward the heart of the ritual, the symbols on the walls burning with an intense, blinding light. She screamed as the world around her began to distort and twist, reality unraveling before her eyes. And then, everything went black. When Maria came to, she was standing in a desolate landscape, the sky a deep, foreboding purple. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and she could feel the presence of something ancient and malevolent lurking just out of sight. Maria's heart was racing as she stumbled forward, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of her team. But she was alone. "Hello?" she called out, her voice lost in the vast expanse. There was no response. Maria was left to face the unknown alone, the fate of her team hanging precariously in the balance. As she walked through the desolate landscape, Maria felt a sense of unease growing within her. She knew she had to find a way back to her world, but the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. The air was thick with the scent of decay and corruption, and Maria could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down upon her. She knew she was being watched, and the feeling sent shivers down her spine. As she walked, the landscape shifted and changed around her. The sky grew darker, the stars twinkling like cold, dead eyes in the blackness. Maria's heart pounded in her chest as she realized she was not alone in this desolate world. There were things moving in the shadows, watching her every step. Maria could feel their eyes upon her, and she knew she had to keep moving if she wanted to survive. The ground beneath her feet began to shift and tremble, and Maria stumbled forward. She caught herself just in time, her hand scraping against the rough stone. As she looked up, she saw a figure standing in the distance. It was tall and imposing, its presence seeming to fill the entire landscape. Maria's heart skipped a beat as the figure began to move towards her. She knew she had to run, but her legs seemed rooted to the spot. The figure drew closer, its features becoming clearer with each passing moment. And as Maria saw its face, she realized that she was staring into the eyes of her own worst nightmare. The figure's eyes seemed to bore into her very soul, and Maria felt a wave of fear wash over her. She knew she was in grave danger, and she didn't know if she would be able to escape. As the figure loomed over her, Maria's world went dark once again. But this time, she was aware of something else. A presence watching her from the shadows, waiting for its moment to strike.